Planned Brotherhood is not affiliated or associated with Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is a registered trademark of Planned Parenthood Federation of America, Incorporated.
I know, I hate taking that pen to work because it makes me look like such a loser.
Oh, man.
It's just old. I've had it for so long.
Yeah, I know. Every time I see it, like, even at a convenience store when they hand you a pen, like 8 times out of 10, it's going to be a money tree pen.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking that started from trash. Whoever got that originally, not only are they, getting a payday loan and screwing themselves over ultimately, but they're also taking that pen with them. Yes.
Yeah, there's servers at where I work, and certain servers, like I've got like the nice pins that they actually hand out to you at work. It's a Bit Click pin, and it's just the best one there is.
Sounds
I don't
nice.
buy my own pins. I just like keep them until they wear out. But certain servers will come in and they'll seriously, like, when they're in their pouch, like in their apron pouch, they'll just have 11 money tree pins lined up. And that's what they're using, man. And those things fall apart so quick. Like, you have to put it back together so many times before you finally just fucking throw it away.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why you grab a handful of them.
I guess. I'm not in the industry.
I don't want to give my customer a money tree pin to sign with because they're just going to feel bad.
Yeah, they'll give you less of a tip, too, because they respect you less.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you're ruining our economy.
You're not, though. Like, a money tree customer, everybody knows what money tree is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to pay like 15% a day or something like that on what you owe.
It's like 130% ultimately.
Yeah.
But, I would think, and again, I don't know the industry, but you got that pouch. You got a space for 11 pins, let's say, because you always need a pin as a waiter, I imagine.
Pins are the things that, like, people...
Mightier than the sword, would you say?
They're the one thing that people forget to bring to work the most, but it's, like, the most important thing to have.
Right. Let me ask you this.
I don't carry a pad of paper at all. I just write down on coasters, my hand, on the trays, like the small drink trays when you bring them their beer. I just write it right there on the tray. Like, almost every tray at the restaurant has my handwriting on it.
But isn't part of being a waiter also kind of memorization?
Yeah.
So how big of a table does it have to be before you have to pull out a pen?
I pull out the pen and I write on things because I'm a really awkward guy, and I don't even want to make eye contact with them.
So it's more it's not that you need to do it, it's just a distraction.
When I ask a table, oh, what can I get for you, and they don't want me to leave and come back, but they haven't decided yet, and I have to stand there for like a minute.
Right.
I can't do the small talk thing that everyone else can do. Like,
I don't know. I've seen you do small talk as a waiter.
Yeah.
I've been there.
I hate it. I really
You hate it, but you're okay at it.
I pull out a pen and, like, I pretend like I'm actually taking an order, even though they're not saying anything. And I'm just writing things down, like, and I'm not even writing on the coaster.
I hate my wife. Is that what you're writing?
I'm not writing like "fuck you" or anything like that. Like, this is what I'm writing is like, asked what they want, waiting. And then I'll wait a couple seconds, and then if they don't say anything, I'll just write it again, like waiting. Like, so I remember when I look at the coaster, like when I finally drop their check at the end of the night, I can look back and see how the whole history of that table went, and then try to predict my tip.
How accurate are you usually when it comes to the tip prediction?
I used to be pretty good when I worked at Outback, but now, like,
and living in a small town also, that has to, like, you have your regulars, I'm sure.
They're just all bad now. Like, there's a table who I impress so much and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh man, I might get like a 30% tip. I might get like $30 off this table. Like, if their bill's $100 and you seriously get like $7.
Ouch.
And they loved you, and they're like telling you how great you are, and oh, it was a pleasure.
To be fair, the economy. Oh god, the economy.
Yeah, but still, God, like, that's rough. They know that I'm in a tough economy too.
Yeah.
And that this is the only way I'm getting my money. Like, if you're there for 2 hours, like, if you're really thinking about it, you know that a server is going to get, like, 3 tables an hour or something like that. Like, you should have to pay rent when you're sitting at a restaurant table.
You think so? So those guys...
I don't think you should have to, but I think that should go into the minds of people when they're leaving a tip.
Just so I'm sure I have this straight, you're saying that the longer you sit at a table, the more you owe.
The more you
the
should
same way.
tip.
Remember when we were assholes with Nick K, like 15 years old,
but
going
we were
to
always
Sherry's
good
and we
tippers
just
back then.
Were we? When we would just drink coffee and bullshit around over a plate of fries.
I think Nick K was a bad tipper.
Yeah, I think he's an under tipper.
I remember one time we went to a Ruby Tuesdays with him, and like the service was just fucking awful. Like the guy was so bad.
I wasn't here for this, but I know the story.
Oh, you weren't?
No, you and Simon were there, I think, but I was not.
We were like, I think Chris might have been there too. We were like,
okay,
let's dine in.
I was probably living in Yakima.
Yeah, let's dine and dash. Like this service was so bad. Like,
who came up with that idea first? Because
I
even
don't know.
before you were in the industry, it seems like you know better than that.
I
would have been so uncomfortable. I couldn't do it.
I don't know who came up with it.
I'd sit there and pay everybody's bill and then just be pissed.
But I think it was my idea to leave some money on the table because I was like, oh, he's going to drop the check. And since this waiter seriously, like, he hated us, like, he'd come by.
So what do you mean by, let's go back a little bit, bad service? What warrants a dine and dash?
I don't know. He obviously just saw a table of, like, 4 teenagers and was like, this is not what I'm in the fucking mood for. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure we were being, like, loud and obnoxious and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hilarious if he really thought about it. I'm sure he was having a bad night. But he just, like, would only come to the table every half hour. So I was like, well...
For how many half hours?
I don't know, as long as we were there. 3 half hours.
Okay.
So I was like, well, let's leave some money in the middle of the table so it looks like a tip. So he'll think when he walks by, like, oh, they put the money inside the book, and here's my tip on the table.
Wait, so he'd already brought out the check or
yeah,
no?
The check was dropped.
How much is this check? How many people were there?
Oh, there was...
Just get it burned on a big table. And after this, I want you to tell me about your own dine and dash experiences on the other side of it.
Okay.
But I didn't mean to interrupt. Continue.
I don't really remember who was there. I guess it was me and Simon and Chris and Nick K. We probably were ordering kind of on the cheap because we didn't know we were going to
mozzarella sticks and coffee.
So I'm going to guess that the thing was like $80. The bill was probably $80.
That's huge, though.
Yeah.
To just walk away from.
That's big, and if he wasn't doing such a shitty job, he could have done a good job and probably gotten like a $20 tip off the table.
Right.
But
how'd you do it? Did you guys leave one at a time?
This is what I said. I said we'll leave the tip in the middle of the table, and that way he'll just think that we put the money in. He's not gonna like come running over because we all ran out the door. Like he only comes back every half hour. We'll be long gone. So he stayed up, and Nick K starts getting nervous, and he starts putting more and more money down on the table for the tip, so that eventually, at the
is that 20 on top?
By the time
20 on top,
dude. By the time we left, Nick K, with the 3 of us, but mostly Nick K. It was like a $72 in the middle of the table, and our bill was $80.
That is almost more of a fuck you.
And
Look,
then,
I'm gonna pay just not enough,
dude. I think
not only am I not tipping you,
know
but you got $8 to cover now.
You know what? That's a good point because that is more of a fuck you. Because otherwise,
yeah,
the waiter would just like take the money and be like, oh, if there was $10 on the table, oh, they ran out. Probably keep the $10, and the restaurant just makes a comp.
That's what I would do. Yeah,
but when it's that close, they're going to be like, no, just pay the extra $8. You shouldn't have let your table leave like that. But we left, and like no one came chasing after us in the parking lot. Like it would have worked if we would have left.
See, I knew the story
each on the table.
But the fact that the bill had already come, like, okay, you've got yourself a little time there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy was never coming around. The only dine and dash experiences I have.
As a waiter, you mean?
Yeah, like... I can't tolerate them. That's the one time I did it, and like I say, it barely qualifies as one.
And how old were you at the time? You were a punk teenager, right?
18.
Yeah, okay.
So, on the other side of it, though, the only people I get dine and dash by are people who do it in the restaurant all the time. Like, they're notorious for it. And the managers...
Again, is this a small town issue? It's just because we all know your face?
Yeah.
It seems odd that you would go into Olive Garden more than once with the idea of running away.
No, someone can come into the restaurant and sit down, and any...
Oh, should I not say the name of your restaurant?
No. I say it all the time.
All right, you gave me a look.
So
you know the one I'm talking about. Continue.
The waiter, at the Olive Garden, there's waiters who have worked at so many different restaurants in the last 10 years. Like, every waiter has worked at 3 different restaurants. So, no, the guy's not coming into Olive Garden all the time, but someone comes up to you and says, hey, this guy, he's going to walk out without paying you. And you keep an eye on it and stuff like that. But at least when they have a reputation, like, you're keeping an eye on it, and you can chase them down in the parking lot, you know what I mean? And then they'll give some bullshit story, and... we'll
You're talking vaguely. Has this ever happened to you?
Oh,
have you been the guy that ran out to catch him?
Yeah.
You been that guy?
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I love that guy.
I had one guy do it to me. He walked out without paying. He came in another time, and he said, and I said, I'm not going to serve this guy. He walked out on me. So the manager goes out and talks to him, and the guy literally says, It's my twin brother. Oh, I have a twin brother. He looks exactly like me. Dude, this is the story. 100% true. I have a twin brother, blah, blah, blah. So I'm forced to serve this guy. I'm keeping an eye on him.
It's not a bad go-to.
Yeah.
I have a twin brother. What's anybody going to say?
They need to ask him to leave. Like, well, your twin brother fucked you over.
Yeah, but then you could sue for something like that. They have to keep that in mind. You have to be conscious.
This guy doesn't have the money to sue.
Conscious.
So then he comes in. So he says, it's my twin brother, blah, blah, blah. I bring him out his food. I have to serve him again. This is the guy who dined and dashed me. I have to serve him again. I bring out his food, fettuccine Alfredo. He finishes all of it. Then he keeps, like, asking me for things. Hey,
breadsticks.
Hey, can you go get me another breadstick? Hey, can you get me a box
After
fish?
he's finished his whole...
Yeah. He's trying to get me out of the bar...
Oh,
to where
I
I'm
see.
back in the kitchen and he can walk out of there, or he can do something. In this case, it was do something. Mm-hmm. But I kept having it like he'd say, hey, can you get me this? So I'd say, yeah, and I'd grab a busser, and I'd either ask the busser to go do it or to stand here and watch this guy. But one time he gets me to go back there, and I'm like, okay. And I come out, and there's this long fucking black hair at the bottom of his plate, just all of a sudden. And so
it doesn't match the description of any girl in the place.
No.
You're sure of it?
And he ate I watched him slurp up this fettuccine Alfredo.
Gross.
Like,
don't use the word slurp and fettuccine Alfredo.
He gets it all over his mouth and his cheeks and his lips.
A slight side note: working at Olive Garden must be pretty disgusting. Watching people eat pasta is pretty gross.
Fettuccine Alfredo is the worst. If they don't have manners, like a lot of people have manners, but some people. They slop it all over their face.
They should put up a no slurping sign.
Yeah.
Because you're the type of guy, twist around the fork type deal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually,
depending on the pasta, that can sometimes be hard, though.
Yeah. I usually sub for penne.
As a customer.
I sub for penne most of the time, which is a small pasta. But so anyway, so there's the big black fucking hair. I go back, I tell the manager what's going on, how he obviously walked out, but no, it might have been his twin. They give him a full comp, and he leaves.
Son of a bitch.
Not illegally, he leaves. Then he comes back.
After his twin brother story, he leaves.
Then he comes back again. And this isn't all in the same week. This is over a period of time.
Hold on, spoiler alert. Triplets, right? Triplets?
No. He comes back in. And I think I had talked the managers into banning the guy from the place at this point after that happened. Like, they're like, yeah, we obviously know he's full of shit. But, let's just comp him and get him out of here. It's like $9.
Which is a weird move as a manager in any job. The guy that just caves and is like, okay, we know he's lying, but let's just get it over with. Like, fight for your job a little bit more. Earn your position.
So then he comes back again, and I'm like, I'm not going to serve this guy again. Like, he's already screwed us twice. Are you kidding me? What do you think is going to happen? And the manager goes, well, remember, he does have a twin brother. And I was like, even if that was true, this would be the third brother. It doesn't make any sense. Even if there's twins, one of them is back right now because this is the third time. But made me serve him. He walked out without paying.
Holy shit.
And I ran like down a full block before I caught up to him. I got him to come back. He was like, "You're ridiculous."
You got him to come back? What are you doing? Is he smaller than you?
I don't know.
I'm wondering how
He's
you
pretty
physically
crazy.
drag a guy back.
No.
Like, once he runs?
Not physically at all. Like, I'm just like, "You're coming back." Like, I'm calling the cops. I got my cell phone. It's like, I'm calling the cops. I'm sick of this. I was like, I get a write-up when you walk out. If I get 3 write-ups, I'm fucking fired. And I was like, I'm sick of this. You need to come back right now.
And is that true, or are you spinning a story?
No. You get write-ups when people walk out.
Okay. It doesn't seem like it's your fault, though. That almost seems unfair.
Yeah, but a really bad, lazy server could let it happen a lot. You know what I mean? Like that guy at Ruby Tuesdays.
True.
So that's why. But so I'm like, you're going to come back. I was like, just come back and talk to my manager. That way it's off of me. And like, I'm not going to get my write-up. And I was like, I doubt they'll even call the cops. Then his brother comes running up, who always hangs out at Greyhound. And I bet you've seen him. He's like a fat guy with glasses and like long
ethnicity,
greasy
please?
hair. White guy.
Okay.
He actually looks a little
know,
Native American. But white.
Okay.
He's
maybe.
always asking for money for food. Big fat guy. So he comes up, and this is his brother, not a twin brother, and just gets into the conversation. And he's like, "Let's just go, man." I was like, "No, come back and talk to them." So they came back and they talked to the manager. I walked in and I told him I was like, "There, I brought them back. This is off of me." And then the manager was like, "Don't ever come back in here. We'll call the police." This kind of stuff. So I don't have to serve them anymore. Then about
You got a picture of him behind the counter?
No, but
No?
I fucking recognize them.
Yeah.
And then 2 hours later, maybe, there's a phone call for the bartender. I answer it. It's them telling me they're going to fucking kill me after work.
What?
I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to stab you. All this kind of stuff. And then about 2 weeks later, the fat brother guy comes in asking for a to-go cup of water. And
I thought you were going to say application. I honestly did.
And he has a kitten with him. And I was like, "You got to leave. Do you not remember calling me up a couple weeks ago? Like, you guys need to leave." And I don't think they've
Wait,
come
what's
back.
the part about the kitten?
He just had a little kitten in his coat.
That's reason enough to kick him out, right?
Yeah. Well, no.
Come on.
We let people with their kittens.
No. There's got to be some ground rules.
It might violate code, but God, there's
Maybe that's
two
where that strange hair came
smelliest
from.
dogs at one of my tables the other day. These seeing eye dogs for people.
I was going to say, who brings a dog in? But I guess if you're blind.
Yeah, but you know what? I think it was actually the people who, like, that table stank, but it smelled more like human odor than dog odor. Like, I really think.
Yeah,
it
I
was
know
the
that
people.
from elevators.
And they tipped me like $2 in nickels, even though they loved me. They fucking loved me.
Were they rolled nickels at least?
No, just like piles,
Ouch.
like 20 nickels a pile. What's that? $1?
All the baggage I brought wouldn't fit in a mid-sized car.
Is your bathroom scale accurate?
I don't think so. Either that's
Is it in or not in my favor? Am I asking that question?
I think it varies really.
So sometimes it'll call you a fatty, sometimes it'll say
Either that scale is way wrong or the We Fit scale is way wrong because they say different things, and I choose to believe the We Fit scale.
even though it calls you blatantly overweight.
Yeah, at
Don't they
least
use the word blatantly?
they're being honest with me. Like seriously, like the We Fit says I weigh like 212.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the scale says I weigh like 204, but sometimes it says I weigh like 225.
Depends on what you ate that day.
That
How you slept
day,
that night. Yeah.
The We Fit has informed me that the average person can gain or lose 2 pounds a day,
Uh-huh.
but we're talking about like a 24-pound difference.
That's true. That's crazy, actually. I have a friend who obviously will go unnamed that the first time I watched him or her step on just bought the We Fit, and it says obese, like right out the gate. And I had no way of knowing that it was going to be that. I mean, I guess it's just being factual. But you feel like it's chiding you a little bit, right?
My sister-in-law.
I've never stepped on it, but I weigh, according to your scale, this is the whole reason I'm getting to it. I weigh now more than I ever did, and I want you to guess.
Oh.
Yeah, we're playing
how
that
tall
game.
are
5'10", I think.
you? Okay, I'm gonna guess what it said, but it might be on the
Okay,
heavy
yeah,
side.
you know your scale better than me.
Yeah. You're 5'10"?
Yep.
You're a pretty short guy. Am I the tallest allers? I think I am.
You mean of all time? Probably not.
Of the living allerses?
Are you?
Taller than Barry.
Yeah, I've never thought about it, but I'm sure you're right.
I've thought about it a lot.
Yeah, you're also the fattest. How do you feel about that? 212? Ouch.
I'm going to say that the scale said you were 230.
Holy shit, how
Is
fat
that
do I
it?
fucking look?
Oh, my God.
230? Seriously?
I thought maybe...
I realize my face is pudging up a little bit. I've really actually been really paranoid and concerned about this lately.
I think you weigh more than me, no?
I weigh 210. 230, you fucking asshole. Give me a break. No, 210.
Well, I got
right across the board.
I got a couple inches on you, so obviously you're still fatter, and you can see why I would think that.
I am way fatter.
I'm so lean.
I feel uncomfortable lately. Like, you know, even when I'm sleeping, like sometimes it gets hot and I want to dig off my shirt. And then I feel like I can't sleep because my belly's interfering with it somehow.
You know, I'll say that I've seen guys who were skinny turn fat, and like they're just like fat people now. But like you look like a skinny guy who like has been drinking a lot of beer and has put on some weight.
Meaning that most of my weight is in my gut, right? Like it's obvious.
And that it could pretty easily be lost.
So do you think the shirts I wear are too small now? Like I feel like I got to change out wardrobes or apply myself to exercise.
Maybe your neck's getting a little fat too.
Yeah, it is, right?
That might make the shirt thing a problem. But
I brought this up assuming you defend, you know, my skinniness. But now that you're being truthful, I actually do appreciate it. Like, I don't like where it's headed, and I'm just getting fatter because I don't work now.
Dude,
and
I
I
feel
just
that
drink
way
all the day.
time. I have lost like 20 pounds. Like I used to honestly weigh 230.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I was pretty fucking fat. People at work would
But you
make
are
fun of it all the time.
substantially taller than me too.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I should weigh 230. Not unless I have a lot of muscle.
No, I know, but it's getting out of control. I got to do something about it. I've been lying to my friends for weeks, telling them I've been running.
Yeah, I remember you told me you're going to start running. I was like, oh, that's funny. Like 2 weeks ago, I bought shorts and an armband for my iPod because I was going to start running. And I didn't. I ran one day. I knew you weren't going to.
Yeah, I was going to invest like $40 in new shoes, and then everybody's like, why don't you see if you can do it first? And I did do it, and it was fucking exhausting, and I've been lying about it ever since. I'm sorry to Sam and Margaret and everybody else I lied to.
Do you say you run from Belltown to Cap Hill? Because you told me that's what you were going to run.
Yeah, of course. That's
Dude, that's way... You could never do that. You got to... There's a track right by your apartment.
I could do it. What about...
Start on the track.
Does it count as running if every other block you walk instead?
I mean, it's something.
It's something, right?
Yeah, you're still running.
Yeah, and the problem is...
then you're going to look really stupid.
Yeah. I've gained a lot of weight just since I lost my job, and it's because I'm not walking anywhere now. I don't have a car, like everywhere I go in Seattle, and I've just been depressed because I don't have a job lately, and so I don't leave the house as often, and I just sit and I drink, and I eat those Cheetos Puffs that, you know the ones.
I eat hot Cheetos because they're so hard to eat that I can't eat too many of them.
Flaming hot Cheetos?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're...
With chile.
Yeah. I don't know how you can stand those. Those got banned from schools.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Is that true?
I heard that somewhere once upon a time.
That's
yeah.
funny.
It was it gave off some kind of it gave some kind of endorphin rush that they didn't approve of.
Wow, I've let Sophie eat one or two. Maybe I should.
Really?
Well,
That's pretty intense for a 2-year-old. That shit is intense.
She likes hot food, but like she doesn't even take a bite. Like she'll just kind of put it in her mouth and then take it out and then do that.
That's what you have to do with this.
She'll eventually take a little bite off, and that's pretty much it. But she likes hot food.
I'm glad we could regroup about my weight issue.
When my sister-in-law came over and she stood on we're like, oh, you know, you can make your own me. You can make it look like you and everything like that. And
You're talking about the Wii Fit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it came to the weigh-in, like, you know, it goes like, there's a scale, and it's like underweight, normal, overweight, obese, whatever it says. And it kind of goes up and down. Where is it going to land? And she's doing it, and it just goes boom right on overweight, and gives her this huge fucking gut, like just shows up on her knee, and it's like plop, and she goes.
Are we talking about her younger or older sister?
Her younger sister.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say she's always struck me as pretty slim.
Yeah,
pretty slender. I know she had a kid and stuff.
Yeah.
Is she gross now?
But the way they put it on, and then the avatar will go like, "Oh man."
Yeah, it's so humiliating, the whole experience. I've never stepped on it myself for that reason. But I have a few friends that own it, and nobody I know has been considered normal or certainly underweight. It's always
works,
overweight or obese.
I think it works, man.
I don't doubt that it does.
My weight still kind of just goes up and down that 2 pounds a day or whatever like that. but my sciatic nerve problem has felt better. It's all yoga.
Yeah, all right.
Yoga and a little strength training.
You can sit through a movie without crying now?
And then you reward yourself with a balance game.
Brotherhood.
Our Father, who art living in hell.
So did Dad just spring it on you, basically? Like his visit here? How much notice did you have?
He called me on Saturday after... Well, he called me like twice during a movie and texted me once. Like, give me a call. And in one of the voicemails, it was like, oh, I want to know what your schedule is like. And then when I got out of the movie, I called him back, and he was asking, like, oh, I just want... This is Saturday, and he's like, want to see what you're doing tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday. And I knew they were going to come over. And so I say, oh, come on Tuesday. That's my day off, and Nick will be here because you were already going to be here.
Yeah, we'd planned on that. I'm a little surprised you wrote him back at all, though.
Well, I
thought we were
back.
pretty much off of both Mom and Dad at this point.
I don't know. When he calls and leaves that voicemail, it's a big thing to just ignore that and not get back to him.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm not quite there with Dad.
I kind of see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sure.
So then I told you they were coming, and you never seemed that nervous about it. But, I should say that when I was talking to him on the phone and I said Tuesday, he goes, okay, do we call her by the nickname anymore, or do we just call her by her name?
Let's go with the nickname, just to keep things current. No?
Really?
You think otherwise?
Oh, I don't know. Okay.
Once we get to the crescendo of the story where we love her and consider her our real mom, then maybe we reveal her name.
All right. So his wife, Neckfurters, is sitting right next to him on the couch. At the
Love
time.
it.
And he goes, well, Neckfurters is sitting right here. Let me ask her. Honey, what? PJ has Tuesday off, and Nick's going to be there.
And I'm just visualizing it, like him petting her arm.
Mm-hmm.
Sweetheart, can I get your attention for just a second?
She's watching TV or something.
Yeah.
And Nick's going to be there. And there's a couple more seconds of silence. And then how does that sound? She's like, okay. And he's like, okay, son, we'll see you on Tuesday.
And super pumped about it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He loves your daughter to death.
Yeah.
That's obvious.
It became obvious, especially this time.
Yeah, kind of. Especially obvious about the Sophie thing. I mean, I think he's always been gung-ho about your daughter.
Oh, yeah, I know. But, I mean, this is the first time where, like, Sophie's actually going to interact and be the kind of grandkid
That's kind of exciting.
Right, that they're thinking
That's something
of.
Other than just cute. Like,
Yeah.
she actually interacts, yeah.
She's like...
There's a huge difference, and I know I've said this before. Every time I'm here, which is like once every month, there's a huge difference in her behavior, her knowledge, everything.
And that's the thing now is they haven't seen her in a while, so it's like she's at a point now to where, like, whatever she's doing, we can always talk about that. If there's nothing else to talk about,
True.
it's
Yeah,
too
that's your
awkward.
safety net right there.
Yeah, just whatever she's doing.
Yeah. And what's she usually doing? Saying something stupid.
Well, we had the TV off the whole time, which she did well about.
Yeah.
Handing chips.
You a little
to
worried about
everybody.
her amount of TV watching?
No, other people
Some of your
were worried
friends at the
about
bar,
it.
last night.
I wish
seemed pretty concerned about it.
I wish she watched better TV.
I think what she watches is good, and that's the argument I was trying to make last night. Is that you put on preschool shows that are teaching her colors and languages and whatnot.
I think it's a thing of like just not letting your kids sit in front of the TV. Like,
and I get that.
If you're home for 4 hours, like 3 hours of it should be like.
But it's not like you're
activity.
watching RoboCop and she's sitting there like totally
That's
engrossed.
what I prefer though, is if she was engrossed by that. But she won't watch RoboCop with me at all.
No,
like,
no
I have
interest.
to put on a cartoon in our bedroom so that she can go in there and watch it, so I can watch my RoboCop.
You realize it's all about colors, images.
Yeah, I know.
She's of a certain age, PJ.
I know. But I think that young.
I'm just saying it could be worse. For the amount of TV she watches, at least she's probably getting something from it.
Right. The TV she watches is educational, but there's just something about like, well, why? What else could you have been doing in that time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you could have been doing something else with your kid instead of letting her watch TV. For
But
4
what?
hours.
She's gonna color instead? She's still probably getting the same knowledge.
I think it's nice to vary it up, to
Sure.
throw coloring into the mix.
Okay. We really got off the dad topic there.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So where were we? So Dad shows up today. I'm in town, looking schlubby. I honestly, I mean, I was, like you said, you'd mentioned me not seeming that nervous about it. I'm not nervous about it. I am to a degree. I just know it's going to be awkward always. And, you know, we've mentioned before, our stepmom Neckfurters, I've met her a handful of times, mostly while they were still dating before we found out what kind of person she apparently was.
Yeah.
But then, so every time
Although the writing was on the wall even back then.
Yeah, true. And their public affection at that time was disgusting.
Yeah.
Dad used to, when I worked at Suncoast, I was like 19 or something, and he had just started seeing Neckfurters. And so sometimes I didn't have a car, and he would come and pick me up from work. And he'd show up in the store sometimes with Neckfurters, and they would like go drift off into the like sci-fi section somewhere way in the back, and they'd just like be making out hardcore. And I'd have coworkers that come back from the back office up to the counter where I'm at, and they're like, "Is that your dad back there playing tonsil hockey?" And that's embarrassing at any age.
Yeah, and it's all like, oh, it's a new thing, you know. We both hate our spouses who we divorced after 20 miserable years, and it's also so wonderful. And it's like Hal in Undeclared when he's making out with the resident advisor all over the building.
Yeah,
like it's just
true.
So
it was almost exactly like that.
Or it's even more like when he gets back together with his ex-wife, when Hal does, and they're like fucking in their son's dorm room and being all loud and like slapping her ass in front of people and stuff. That's what it's like. Like, oh, it's so great, and we're gonna pretend like all of our emotional baggage is just gone,
right?
Because I met you 2 weeks ago.
Until we get married, and then I'm stuck.
Yeah,
forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, every time I've seen her since they've been married, it's always been pretty bad, even when I was with you. But I understood your thinking it was better that I was there, and I agree.
Yeah.
We can bounce off each other. If things are going terrible, at least we can go outside and smoke and make fun of the situation.
Yeah.
But it didn't really come to that. I don't know. I thought the trip was, if I had to give it a word, pleasant almost. That's 2 words.
Definitely not pleasant because it was still very, very uncomfortable for me.
But it will be. And it is probably for most people dealing with their dad. You know, at that age, I don't know. That's probably a stretch, but I just, you know, I expected her to be cold, as she often is, whereas this time it seems like she was really giving it a go. Like maybe they had a talk on the way here,
yeah.
And you know, she did bring up her kids a lot and their successes, although the first mention of her daughter was that she's unemployed and pregnant. Yeah, so that's awesome. That made me feel a little better. But
she's
overall,
still
like
doing fine,
she made an effort though. Neckfurters
she
did more than I've ever seen before, and I appreciated that.
And there's still the weird things that kind of get
and you
on
were
my
getting
nerves.
her sauced up the whole time.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing is she's getting along with Dad the least out of anybody else in the room.
Right.
You know what I mean? And she's snipping at him and stuff, but she is smart.
Which I saw a little bit of. I'll give an example once you're done. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that like she would. I forget what I was going to say. What were we going to say?
My bad.
No, that's all right.
At the beginning, I didn't know what to think, like when they first showed up, because they had, you knew that they were going to have shit for Sophie.
Yeah.
And they did, you know, that's...
And I knew it was going to be books.
That's right, you called that.
And Daddy
Which is good, right?
Dad even announced when he came in...
Get her off the TV.
He announced when he came in, he said, we're the books grandparents.
Oh, yeah. See, Dad had a couple of good lines.
Yeah.
Not that that was great. It's
No.
good, though.
That wasn't one of the ones I would consider a good line.
All right, we'll get to that too. But yeah, when they first showed up and they had a gift bag and they had a couple of books for Sophia, and at first I was kind of feeling a vibe from Neckfurters because you know, Dad had Sophie on his lap and was reading to her, and it's one of those like slide about books, a pop up almost, but not.
Show her how to do it, Scott.
Yeah, show her how, and that's what she was doing. She was leaning over him. Oh no, you gotta, you know, just telling him how to work a pop-up book for a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is gonna go bad. But then you made her first cocktail.
Yeah.
What was her drink of choice?
Right off the bat, lemon drop. I know she loves them.
Yeah.
I know she loves them.
You had all the materials ready.
Went to the liquor store.
I think it helps.
It does amazingly, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, Dad doesn't drink at all the whole time.
Right, and one of the
suffers through one beer.
She kind of wants to push him to drink when he's here.
I've noticed that.
But you know what I think it is? because she does this weird thing when I'm like, hey, you want another drink? And she's like, oh my God, like, what does he think I am? Some sort of alcoholic? But yes, I will have
I'll
one.
take it right away, please.
But you know what? You're watching us drink like 4 beers a minute. You know what I mean? Like, and we're making vodka cranberries for ourselves. Like, we're just drinking.
Well, we were out of beer at that point.
Yeah, we're drinking and drinking. Like, it's okay. And then I think she wants Dad to drink.
Right.
Because
you wonder how Dad feels about all this? Like watching us smoke and
you know what else?
And
I bet that's something that irritates her about Dad. Like
that he doesn't drink more?
Because he can't drink more.
Right. He'll get red in the face.
It's nothing he can help. But she's like, I drink and he can't even drink because he's illegal. And maybe if he would drink with me, he would have fun with me.
Did you say illegal?
Did I say illegal?
I think so. What does that mean? You lost me.
I think by illegal I meant that he can't drink because
he has an allergy.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know that I would consider a beer allergy illegal by any means.
That'll be an interesting one to go back and listen to.
I'm absolutely right. I'm absolutely right.
But yeah, so I think that she's like, oh, come on, just drink. Like, don't be the one that's sitting here judging. I think that she thinks like he's sitting there, he's judging me, even though I'm better than him. And like, just calm down and drink with us. Like and she was like laughing at jokes, and
she was. Yeah, I don't know. She was really obsessed.
She would not sit back on the couch. I don't know if that was nervousness or if I have a gross couch.
That was a little weird.
She said one thing.
I think your couch is pretty gross.
She said one thing about the couch. Like, I think she asked if it was a new couch, which would be weird if she thought it was dirty.
No, I think she's just uncomfortable in general, and it comes across in the way like she sits, of all things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really get it. But, yeah, overall it was fine. We dug a little deep with Dad, I thought.
Yeah.
Even with Deb, let's just say her real name now because I fucked up. Even with Debbie there, our stepmom, like sitting right next to him, usually like he's so shut down, and he doesn't expand on anything. Like it's just very surface conversation. But we kind of opened up with him a little bit, just talking about family and shit.
Yeah,
it was a side of him that I don't see in front of Debbie.
Yeah,
ever.
Well, you never see him really talking about anything unless it always seemed like he had to make an effort before to like everything he said included her as well. You know what I mean? He had to constantly keep her abreast in the conversation so that he wouldn't get lectured about like, oh, you guys just talk about your own thing. But this time he kind of was talking. We're talking about like, and it's sad that I have to be like, oh, this one's like horribly awkward but semi-good conversation with Dad. But when we're talking about like the Netflix cues, and he says that he watches all the old TV shows, and we're talking about The Prisoner for a couple minutes, and she says like, oh, that's a little creepy that someone can see what movies you're renting, which is like kind of a cynical thing to say, but like it was definitely her part of the conversation,
right? And
it even turned it into like she was joining in conversation.
That's true. I didn't even think about that at the time.
If Dad would just relax and have a normal conversation, maybe she'll feel comfortable enough to
pipe up every now and again. Yeah,
and we're just pouring liquor down her throat the whole time.
Yeah, and again that helped. Like it's definitely, I think, a matter of Liquid Courage podcast.com with her.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm sure she's just as nerve-wracked about having to deal with us as we are having to see them.
And we feel much more comfortable.
And it wouldn't have happened if Dad didn't want it to happen.
Right. And we, we know, oh, we're going to drink through this to make it as pleasant as possible. And she knows that, too. She knows she's not coming over.
And she's clearly an alcoholic, and I feel like I can call her mom because of that.
I can feel a little sense of pride toward if they had to visit anyone from our family, like grandma,
right,
or some other just weird thing, that I'm sure she would rather go to my house, because I have never not had the bar set up when she came over.
True,
and she loves it.
Yeah,
she loves it.
I wonder if she loves it all the time, or if that's just a nervous tick when she's around us.
I don't know.
Do you think she drinks that much at home?
I think so. I think Dad's mentioned it, and I think even that she makes them at home.
I know she loves prescription pills. Good God.
When I've gone over there before, we'll go down that road.
Okay.
Let me just say that when I've gone to their house before, she's like, oh, I have all the stuff to make that lemon drop, but your dad doesn't really make it right, and so
you're a bartender.
So like
you're a professional.
I'll go in there and make it for her, and she's got like a bottle of the citrus vodka or whatever that's like only got a third left in it. Like she's drinking those at home all the time.
see. Yeah, I guess I can
And I
see
try
that.
to switch it up. I'm like, oh, here's a gummy bear martini because that's what Alvina drinks. So I have all this stuff for that.
She didn't want it.
Well,
I mean, she drank it.
but
Oh, she drank it.
she went back to the lemon drop. And I told you about that time when the last time they were here, and me and Alvina and Sophie went to Grandma's house. We picked up a pizza and went to Grandma's house.
Uh-huh.
And we were here drinking first, and like I made like 3 screwdrivers to go in water bottles to bring with us. And God, that was fucking. I don't know why Alvina didn't care, but she didn't care at all. Like I was just getting smashed all morning. So we go and I make them, and I
think it's an understanding on Elvina's part too.
Yeah.
Like when we're around family,
yeah,
this helps us. As sad as it is,
even if we're the only ones drinking,
right?
But I remember asking Debbie, like, hey, do you like I can make you a lemon drop to go if you want, and I think either she thought I was kidding or she did that thing like she does today when I ask her for a drink. And it's like, oh my God, can you believe he's asking me this? And I was like, oh, okay, no, she doesn't want one. And when we get there and I start drinking them, she's like, oh, I didn't know we had to-go beverages.
Yeah.
I was like, I totally asked you.
And she mentioned that today, too.
Today, yeah. And she was like, oh.
That's something she remembers that you had already talked
Yeah.
about with me.
And she said, oh, you never asked me if I wanted one to go. Yes, I fucking did. And I asked her today when they were walking out the door, do you want one to go?
And again, the same nervous reaction, like,
she said-
what do I say? No,
she
no,
was
no.
like, oh, I was just thinking we better get there before this one wears off. But then they walked out the door. So.
Yeah, and they went and visited Grandma.
Yeah.
They're probably still there now. God, that's got to be awkward.
Nah, I bet they're gone already.
Yeah, they probably bailed fast. That's the thing about Dad. Like, he drives all the way out here, and then he just hangs out for a couple hours. I mean, I realized we couldn't handle more than that, probably.
Yeah.
But still, it is weird that they make all that drive out here and then just go back around.
Well,
They're spending more time in the car than they are with Sophie.
The only other thing that I could see happening was that they would like get a hotel in Yakima,
Right?
And there's some nice hotels around here, and Debbie's
Sure.
got money.
What's the one Mom likes?
Bally High.
Bally High. Yeah.
They got soap net, glass in the bed, but soap net on the TV.
glass in the bed.
But what are they gonna do? I think they know that like it's. What are we gonna like? Just me, Alvina, and Sophie do with them all night long, and then they're not gonna go out to like a dinner by themselves or anything, and just go back to the hotel room. So they just come for a little while, and
I understand in the grand scheme of things, that's better.
I think she's
Better
a lot,
to take them in 2-hour increments, or 3,
she's
whatever it was.
She's a lot like us in the sense like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable in the situation, and let's just keep it to a minimum.
Right.
And that is so fine with me because it's so much the way I am.
Right.
Like, I realize that it's a big drive for them to just come visit for a couple hours, but if for any reason we were going to go visit them, it would always only be for a couple hours.
Let me ask you this about.
Although they want to take Sophie overnight. For
Yeah,
her birthday.
that's what I was just going to ask about. Because while they were here, you're going to Seattle next month.
Yeah.
You're going to go to the Puyallup Fair for your daughter's 2nd birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Sophie. What should I get her, by the way, gift-wise?
You don't have to worry about it.
I'm going to get her something. I'm her favorite uncle. But yeah, so Dad had made a point, obviously already discussed it with Debbie, I assume, because he wouldn't have just, and that was kind of took me back a little bit.
I think a lot of it had to do, like, she'll agree to that because, like, her daughter's having a kid now, and they were, like, asking
Which I didn't know
about
until she mentioned that today.
And Dad loves Sophie a lot, and, he wants her to be, like, it is her, Debbie can get mad, like, oh, I don't want you to talk to your sister because she's a bimbo, or she's a lesbian, or something like that. Like, this is, or, your daughter because it reminds me of your wife, or even your sons because it reminds me of your wife. But, like, apparently she's open to, being a grandparent. And, she's about to have, like, a legitimate, like, a biological grandkid soon. So, maybe she's just coming around, like, she's down with it.
Yeah, she even asked...
It might not turn into overnight. I hope it does, because it'd be great to, like, just hang out in Seattle all night. We already
think so
got the
too,
fucking
man.
hotel downtown. It's going to be
can
awesome.
all get smashed.
Yeah.
So you have no reservations about leaving her there?
No, and I think Alvina
It's
won't.
a clean house.
Alvina won't either. The only worry would be Like, I can see the only discussion Alvina and I have in talking about it being, like, what if Sophie's cranky? What if she's bad? What if she, like, is, really upset that we left? Because that can just happen sporadically.
Unless you distract her with a potato chip.
Can they handle that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or are they just going to, like, freak out and be miserable because we don't want that to happen?
Right.
But, like, when Lori takes Sophie overnight, sometimes she's great and, like, didn't miss us at all. And, sometimes she screams for us all night. But that, like, Lori understands that it's nothing personal from the baby. And just everything. And
I'd like to think that Debbie has that understanding also. And I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell.
How our parents reacted, like when I wouldn't stop crying or when Melissa wouldn't stop crying.
Yeah, you got shook.
Yeah, as baby. So what tells? How did she react to when her kids were crying? We have no idea.
True.
So I'm leaving Sophie with the baby shaker dad, and some woman I know nothing about.
True. I don't know. Based on today, she's fine.
I never think. No, all I think is that, like, how badly are they gonna freak out? Like, I don't want this to be a miserable night for them. I don't want that, like, 2 a.m. phone call.
As long as Debbie's drunk, she'll be fine.
I don't need a phone call being like, oh, she just won't stop crying and, like, having to go get her.
I don't think you would get that phone call. I think they'd resolve it between themselves.
Yeah.
And it might be miserable for them, and, like, it's not great if they are, let's say that you do leave her overnight next month, and then that becomes a thing. Like, you decide it's okay to do that. When Sophie's of a certain age, like, let's say 4 or 5 years old, and she's staying at Grandpa and Debbie's house, if they're fighting the whole time, that's going to have an effect on her.
Well, I think that it's not going to, like, emotionally scar her, but she'll definitely notice it and then, like, probably not want to go there again.
Exactly. So they do run the risk of that. Not now because she's too young.
Yeah, they're going to snip at each other no matter what age. But I think at, like, 5, Sophie really won't be going for overnights there. Hopefully they won't be married anymore.
Really? We're going there with this?
But, I'm okay with leaving her overnight because I think it'd be a lot of fun that night in Seattle. I just don't know if they're fully committed to it.
They're the ones that brought it up. They suggested it. They had obviously already talked about it.
Yeah.
So I think if you're willing to do it, I think it might be good just to see how it turns out.
There was once we left her there for a couple hours when we went to get lunch.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we went to the Jewish deli.
Yeah. Oh, man, there's so many Jew jokes to be made that day. It was great.
Yeah, I was feeling on fire that day. Like Jews. Do we got anything else on Dad?
Why don't we get off, Dad?
All right. That's enough of that. I did think it was a funny suggestion earlier. I think we'd been outside smoking while they were still here. And just the idea of coming back in and then having a moment with Debbie, like no matter what I say, just share a sentence with her and then call her mom at the end of it. So funny. I should have gone through with it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I have? That would have made for an awkward drive home for Dad if it's not already.
We had a conversation last night. Remember, we were going to wear ties the whole time.
Yeah, that seemed like a good idea at 3 a.m. when I was drunk.
But then I remember also having a very specific conversation last night, where or no,
with me?
It was on the last podcast.
Okay,
about.
So our listeners are already in on this.
Yeah. What do you do when you see Debbie? Do you hug her? Like, do you do the handshake thing? Oh, it's so awkward. And you're like, oh, I just don't even do any of that.
Right.
It's understood that we're just going to come in and sit down.
Right. And
that is certainly
let's talk
what
about
we did when they arrived today.
Yeah. And you already had a plan. Like Dad says we're going to show up at 12:30. It was more like 1. At least give us a phone call.
Yeah.
But you already had the plan, and you just picked up Sophie. And when you opened the door, you had her in her arms.
Right. I can be like,
in
say
your arms.
hi, say hi.
Right. And so you got away with that. I just awkwardly stared at my Facebook on your computer and said hi, but I didn't get up or anything. Yeah. And I knew that they were here to see the baby, and it didn't matter that much.
Yeah.
By the end of the visit, I felt like I wouldn't say I have ever connected with Debbie, but I could see that she was trying something that wasn't necessarily malicious.
Right.
And so I responded to that in a way where when they left, it had been established that they were taking off her grandma's. And I stand up and decide I'm going to do it because we'd both been drinking. And I figured if I did it, you would follow suit. So I stand up and I give her what is the most...
You stand up, you walk across the living room towards her. You charge her with your arms open.
All 210 pounds of me. Yeah, and so I gave her a hug, and I will say it was probably the most awkward hug of my life. But it didn't feel as awkward until I sat back down. You did not stand up to hug her after that.
You walked back,
but you did hug Dad, right?
Room. He walked over to me, and we did that awkward thing where it was like I thought he was going for a handshake. I think he went for a handshake,
I always
switched it to a hug, and then I was putting my hand out, and then it was like he put his hand up but didn't stop going in for the hug. So then I put my hand away, and I go fully into the hug, and I get stabbed in the gut by his fingers. And
Debbie, you just give a cold stare when she leaves.
No, I was perfectly pleasant. I asked her if she wanted a drink to go.
I know, but didn't you think after I gave her that weird too long hug that you should have done it just to make me feel better?
Not after I saw the
I knew.
No, dude.
I knew it was bad news, and the second they
stood
left,
up, I knew it was bad news.
We could hear them walking down the stairs when you were making fun of me.
I almost grabbed your arm and sat you back down. Don't. We talked about it.
I don't know why I did it. I thought it was going to be a moment, and then it is on this show for you to mock me.
It was fine, and you know, now they hate me more than you, but
that's
like,
what I was really going
like
for.
I said, I think she's just as awkward as us, so she understands. She didn't want that hug any more than you did. She probably wanted it the same amount you did, and she fucking wanted it. It was like, you know, like, oh, this does seem like a kind of good idea. Too bad neither of us have the social grace to execute it well. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so then I think at the same time she can look at me and be like, I'm glad I didn't have to do it a second time, even if for some reason he hates me.
What if he got in for a group hug?
Oh, that would have been.
Would you have been a part of that?
That would have been a funny thing. Yeah, I would have done that. In fact,
no,
we're
not for humor. I'm not saying for humor.
We should say huddle up next time we're leaving.
I love it.
Brotherhood, are out of control. They would crash the airwaves with a microphone. So sit down tight and listen close. All the ladies now take off your clothes. Brotherhood. Brotherhood.
These mosquito bites
are making me thirsty.